Today's project is to get this water tank mounted up here at the back of my 5th gen 4Runner. Now this is a 7-gallon tank, should provide me plenty of water, probably about 15-20 minutes worth of water for my hot shower. If you haven't seen that, I will put a link to that in the description so you can check out that video. And I'll also put a link to this tank. This was $30 from Amazon, so it's a great price. And I mean, it's almost a perfect fit up there already. I did have to remove a couple of pieces of trim from the back. There was a piece of metal here and a piece here. Those were to hold on the stock rear bumper, but I don't have the stock bumper anymore, so I don't need them. And I've kept the hardware. It's left me with 2 threaded holes that I can use to support the mount that I build. The only other thing I have to sort out is the spare tire winch. Obviously I don't need it anymore. It can be removed. There are 6 bolts on top, but they are, unfortunately, with the condition of my frame, they're probably seized in there, probably rusted in there, and they are really difficult to get to as well. There's pretty much no space above them. So rather than remove it, I am gonna just cut the chain so I can take that out, and then I'm gonna cut across here. I only really need about an extra ½ inch of space, but I'm gonna cut that off, and then we will get started building the mount. So let's get grinding this away.
A quick couple of cuts to the chain and it was loose. After that, I trimmed the edge of the tire winch mount, freeing up some extra space. The water tank does technically fit in without trimming the mount, but it jams up right against it, and I wanted to create a little gap so that it wouldn't rub. The next steps were I started building some brackets for the tank. I started by drilling a couple of holes into the bars, I scored the back of them and bent them to a suitable angle. I test fitted the vertical supports of the brackets and I marked where I needed to cut them. Once I was happy, I put the horizontal supports in. Now I don't have a whole lot of practice welding, so I had Wes tack it all for me. With it in shape, I had to go at doing the main weld, and then I had to grind off the mess I made. A quick spray of paint and it's ready to mount. I used anti-fatigue mats to create a cushion between the brackets, the tank, and the vehicle body.
The tank's installed and I'm not 100% happy with it. There's a couple of things I don't like. It does sit above the height of the bumper, so I'm happy with that, but the material that I use to protect it from the bracket or the cradle, it kind of hangs off, and maybe I should glue it, I'm not sure. I do know that the plastic material of the tank itself doesn't really take to glue very well, and neither does the foam that I put on there. It's probably gonna be one of those things that I'll revise in 3 to 6 months time, and either that's gonna be based on experience when I go out and use this, or what's more likely is someone will suggest something in the comments and it'll be a really good idea, and I wish I'd just done that from the start. So I'm looking forward to seeing your suggestions. So the next part is going to be to put some hoses in, and for that you will need one plug. I've got these little plastic, it's ½ inch NPT plug, and you'll need 2 ½ inch NPT to barbs, and I think this is a 3/8 inch barb because that's what my hose is that I ended up buying, and I've got a little length of it here. So I'm going to have one come out the top, that's going to be more just for venting,
and then one come out the bottom, and that's going to be for filling up and for draining. So when I'm using the shower, the one comes out the bottom. And I'm going to have them both come up into the bumper here. It's all very hollow up here. I've got plenty of space to work with. So I'm going to drill 2 holes. One's going to be for the vent, one's going to be for when I use it. And then in those holes, I'm going to put this, and this is it's 1/2 inch NPT on the inside, and it goes to 3/4 inch garden hose thread on the outside. And this one's actually designed for bulkheads, so it's got a nut that goes on the outside to hold it in place. And I'll put a link to all these fittings that I've used in the description, and I'll probably put them on my website as well. Come up with a web address. I'll just do revereoverland.com/water tank, all one word. How about that? So with this bulkhead that I've got here, the garden hose thread, I also have some couple other things. Obviously the pipe that goes to the shower itself will screw into the garden hose thread, but also bought some of these little caps here, and they just go on the end like that, and that way when I'm driving down the road I don't get dirt and muddy water inside my tank, and it helps just kind of protect the thread too. Once the holes are drilled, I'm ready to start preparing the hose, and I'm going to prepare it all outside of the vehicle. I'm not going to put any of these fittings in first, just because that'll make it really difficult. So I'm going to have to put the hose onto the barb, tighten that down with a hose clamp, and then I'm going to put that into here, into the garden hose adapter that goes through, the bulkhead adapter that goes through those holes, before I feed it through. I am going to put white Teflon in here, Palmer's Teflon, and remember to wrap that clockwise when it's facing you. That way it doesn't bunch up as you screw it in. So I'm going to get all that ready, feed it through, and then tighten it down on here. Alright, so that is ready to be threaded up through there, up into the bumper. Let's see how it does. Alright, so I'd say that sticks out about the perfect amount. It's just enough to get the cap threaded on there properly. And completely. There. I'm happy with that. Now put the other one in. Alright, so real quick pro tip. Put these fittings on. This one I've got a straight fitting coming out. I probably should have done elbow. In fact, I wish I'd done elbow. Put those fittings on, especially that top one up there, before you put the tank in. I have an elbow for the top one, but I have no way of getting it up there without undoing the tank and taking it back out. So I won't show you all that, but just make sure you put these fittings on before you put the tank in. So it's been about 3 months since the DIY that you saw where I put all of this together, and since then I've done about an 8,000 mile trip around the United States. Started down in Arizona, went all the way up to almost to the Canadian border, down into Idaho a little bit. If you haven't seen that series, you've got to check it out, and I'll put a link to that in the description. And having all of this water available in the 4Runner for a shower is just a game changer. You know, when you're out in the desert, you get so hot and sweaty and dusty. It's so nice to have this. And then when we're further up in Idaho and Montana, we're just covering ourselves in bug spray every day. It's so nice to be able to clean off every night before you get into the tent, and we don't have to rely on finding a campground or a lake or a creek to bathe in. We've got it all available here, so we can just stop anywhere. There are a couple of ways that I fill this up, and I'll show you now. With both of them, I have to unscrew these caps that are on here. The bottom one is actually the filler cap, and the top one is a vent, but I wanted both of them blocked off so that no dirt or dust can get in there, or if I end up going through, it'd have to be a pretty deep water crossing, but if I end up going through one, no extra water can come in. And I've got a little bag of quick disconnects here. I actually only need this end, and I need both of them. I've got 2 of these. So I screw this on to the bottom there, and both of my filling methods use that. The first one I'll show you is this. It's like well, it is a funnel, and this just hooks into the quick disconnect here, like that. And this is mainly a 2-person job when you do this, but one person will hold this up, and then the other person will fill up using this. So I store some backup water. I've got an extra 7 gallons of water in these that I hang off the back. These are fuel packs. I emailed Rotopax and talked to them, and they said that these are fine for water as long as it's you're not using it for drinking water. So everything that goes in there, well, it's not drinking water anyway. I just use it for showering. The other method I use for filling up involves this, and this is actually the shower head hose that I did from the DIY shower. shower. If you haven't seen that video, you gotta check that one out too. In fact, that's probably one you should watch before you watch this one, so I'll put a link to that in the description as well. But basically one end of this is what connects to the heater, and then the other end of it is what connects to the shower head. It serves dual purpose. So I don't actually keep this in the box because I use it for filling up. And once again, one end of this connects to the quick disconnect there, and then the other end goes to either a hose or a faucet. And on that hose or faucet, I put another one of these quick disconnects. So I have a hose here in front of me, and I'll show you. So I just screw that on to the end of the hose, like that, and then connect the two. So this is my shower in a box setup, and everything you see here except for the hose and the power supply is all self-contained inside the box. Hookup's really easy, so we'll start off with the shower head, and I just use the same hose that I just filled up with. One end of it connects to the shower head, and I got one of those quick disconnects on the shower head, and then the other end of it hooks up to the water heater here, so now the water can come out. The other thing I have to hook up is the pump to the water supply. So that is wrapped in there, and you can see I've got a filter in line, and I just put that onto the quick disconnect that I have down to the tank here. Then I have the power, and this uses just a little 12-volt adapter. And I've been using the Jackery to power this. I had some people ask how long the Jackery lasts, and it uses so little power that I could probably run this shower system for about 12 hours before I'd have to charge the Jackery. But I'll plug that in there. I'm gonna leave it off for now. So I've got the little switch on here that I can turn it off and on with. The only other thing I'd normally hook up is my propane. I have a little 5-pound bottle for propane, and the 5-pound bottle lasted the entire trip that I did this summer. It was 31 days. I used the shower probably every other night on average, and I used the little propane bottle to cook as well, occasionally, and it lasted just fine. So now that I've got that, I'm going to turn on the shower head. Right now everything's off, and I'm going to prime the system. So I'm just going to turn this on until water starts coming out the shower head. All right, here it comes, and you'll hear it's starting to light there. It's trying to light, but it can't, obviously, because I don't have propane. But once it detects that water moving through it, it tries to light the whole system. And the really nice thing about this setup is, you see I just turned it off at the shower head. There's a little switch here, so it's off. I'm not wasting water, and because the pump has a built-in diaphragm, that stops pumping as well when it gets up to pressure. So I can turn it on and off really easily. Oh, there it goes. A little bit of air in the line. So what I'll do now is I'm gonna get my phone out, and I'm gonna time, and we'll see. I wanna give you an idea of how long 7 gallons lasts. We'll see, what do you think? Place your bets now. Here goes. All right, so that sound that you may hear in the background, that means it's starting to get air in the line. And once that happens, when you turn this off, it still won't pressurize, and that pump will just keep on going. And it can be pretty annoying when you're in the shower and that's going on. So make sure you switch it off. And the final time was pretty much exactly 5 minutes. I don't know if you'll be able to see that on there. There it is. So pretty much exactly 5 minutes worth of shower time. You can change that slightly. I've got the water flow here. It's set to pretty much right in the middle. You can turn it up if you wanted to have a stronger shower, or you can turn it down if you wanted to conserve water a little bit. So 5 minutes. In terms of actual shower time, that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're out camping, you're I don't know how to put this politely, you're washing the essentials, you're not taking a long, luxurious shower. And what we found is that's about 4 showers. So with the 2 of us, that's why I obviously took the extra fuel packs full of water as well. That way we can stay away from civilization for a little bit longer. And filling up, honestly, isn't too bad. I showed you the 2 methods I have, but in terms of where to get the water, usually if you go to small towns and just ask at a gas station, there's usually somewhere nearby that will have free water, or most campgrounds also offer water, so you can go in. Some of them are free, some of them you have to pay like $5 and they'll let you fill up, so it's not too hard to find water. I got one more thing, let me grab that. this. So anytime I stayed near a river or a creek, if the water was clean enough, I'd actually just fill this up and just shower directly from this. So it kind of holds its shape, and instead of putting this onto the tank, I drop it into here, and that means I have pretty much unlimited water, and you can take your long, luxurious showers with this. And I'll put a link to this. This thing's great because it just folds flat and it doesn't take up any space inside the vehicle. In terms of changes or modifications, I know when I built this 3 months ago, I said that I'd probably have something I'd want to change, and so far I haven't come up with anything. Of course, I haven't seen your comments and suggestions yet, so that may change. The only thing I can think of is the tank in there. I had it angled slightly up at the front. I would try and get that as level as you can, because right now when I fill it up, you end up with a little bubble at the top and you don't quite get the full 7-gallon capacity. One thing I can see getting suggested is putting a skid plate on the bottom, and it's not a bad idea to help protect the tank. I haven't done it and I haven't had any issues. You know, across the 8,000 miles, there's no scratches, no signs of damage on there. It is fairly well tucked up under the bumper. And of course, even if it did get damaged, it's not like I'm carrying fuel, and I certainly wouldn't put fuel in that tank. It's just water, so at the end of the day, worst that's happened is I've spilled some water on the ground. It's not bad for the environment, and I'm out $30 for the tank. If this is something you want to try for yourself, I'll put a full parts list for the tank setup in the description, and I'll have it on my website. If you want to do the shower in a box, then go visit that video. I'll keep that parts list separate just to avoid any confusion. I do think that you could probably customize this to fit under pretty much any vehicle that has a spare tire location under there, as long as obviously a spare tire isn't there. So I'd be interested to see if you do end up doing something like this. Tag me on Instagram, because I want to see how other people have adapted it. And of course, I want to hear your suggestions too. Anytime I do a build like this, I always get suggestions on how to improve it, and there's things I wish I'd done in the first place, including this. I've had a couple of great suggestions on that. So check out the comments, tell me in the comments what you would do to change. If you liked the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. That helps me out, it helps me promote it, and of course subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.